FM.
So, on the other side of my screen is a bloke called Joe Skinner. He's a disability sports coach for Burnley Football Club in your hometown, and just completed a BA in Multimedia Sport Journalism at UCFB, and just finished that degree in the summer. So, welcome along, Joe.
Nice one, pal. Like I said off the recording, it's nice to be the person who's being interviewed instead of the interviewer. And yeah, looking forward to speaking about all things media and mindset, and also my role with Burnley FC in the community, which is the charity handle of Burnley Football Club. They're two separate entities, but it's like a charity in sort of similar vein to the football club itself.
So let's go back into your early career, Joe. What was it like growing up with Liverpool? Did you get into any sports growing up?
100%, and I always, pay major credit to my mum, who is my, main beacon of positivity, help and support. She's never, treated me any differently, or I've never been treated any differently than by my friends or anything like that. And always massively been into football, always joined in PE and things like that. I think that's down to the normality of my upbringing, never treated any differently, which I think is a good message to everybody, isn't it, really? Just get stuck in and do what you can. And enjoyed doing PE at school, love football. Didn't really like any other other subjects, to be fair, apart from catering and dinner time, lunchtime, and home time. But one thing I did love is PE and doing football, because I've just been obsessed with it since I've born, really.
And so with football, was it did you like get into some sort of metal frame and play football, or was it just watching that you did?
No, so basically, I'm an electric wheelchair user. Never been afraid to get stuck in. At school, I even joined in PE in the lessons and everything. They let me join in, which was great. That was both at primary school and high school as well, because I had teaching assistants that basically they played on my team, so they did all the passing for me and stuff, because obviously I can't do that. And then I sort of have a decent football brain, so I sort of played in defence and got my wheelchair in front of the ball. And I always tell this story to people who find it funny. When we played five-a-side indoors, I wore a cricket helmet, because, as you can imagine, with the fast-paced nature of five-a-side, the ball bouncing off the walls, people were getting hit in face. So obviously they didn't want that for me. But yeah, always been interested in sport. And if you want to go down this angle as well, I also played power chair football for Bolton Bullets till I was 16, which I also enjoyed.
And so, but what was it about football that made you want to do a sort of career in it?
I don't know. I've just never sort of been academically driven. Don't get me wrong, I'm academically clever, but I don't feel like school and the education system teaches what you actually need to know about in life. And I feel like sport is a very good sort of channel to go off into so many different entities, whether that be sports science, mental health, sports journalism, etc.
And so, primary school, secondary school, were they mainstream schools?
Yeah, I went to a mainstream school. Like I said, I didn't really like school. It was a pretty dark time within my life, really, to be fair. I was never bullied or anything like that. I always had lots of friends. But the person who looked after me at high school, he unfortunately passed away after working there for 40 years. And I'm a very sort of emotionally driven person, and sometimes can get overwhelmed by my emotions. And that's sort of really affected me. I sort of went into my shell at school, locked myself away from my friends, because I didn't really know how to handle it. And also, as well, as they were getting older and going out and doing more things socially, I don't think they was socially mature enough at the time to be able to sort of include me. So that period stopped for a few years once we got to a certain age of about 15, and I sort of didn't really know how to handle that for a few years. So I was in quite a bad place. But I'm pleased to say, over the past 5 years, through implementing structure into my life and through sport itself, I'm happier than ever through maintaining the issues that I do have.
And so you did at school. You did say you're academically clever. You are, because you managed to get 9 GCSEs.
Oh, did you see that? Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously maths and English, but what were the other ones?
I can't really remember, to be fair to you, pal. I personally think GCSEs don't really mean anything and are a bit, useless, because for me, the school system tries to define intelligence based off memory, and for me, that's not, how life works. They don't teach you how to interact with people. They don't teach you about, well, they do over the last few years, but mental health or how to pay taxes or things like that. So I was a very bitter and angry teenager, as you can imagine. When it comes to hormones, I've always had issues with anxiety and stuff, but when like hormones came, it just massively exploded. Do you know what I mean? And coupled in with a few other things as well. So that really doesn't. I don't look back on that time period with fond memories, if I'm honest. But what I do look back on is this current time period, from what you've obviously seen the work that I'm doing now. And this is what I want to sort of, talk about, and why I'm happy to come on here today about mental resilience, to show that you can come back from, tough times in your life and use it to help other people.
And your college, 2006 and 2018, it actually was sport related. The
Yeah,
degree I did, and an A level. So that's sort of path to
it's
work.
BTEC, yeah, BTEC.
Yeah, but BTEC. Sorry, yeah, BTEC. And then that sort of followed on for you in 2019 after you got your BTEC degree. You volunteered at Burnley Football Club. So how did that job come about for you?
Yeah, so basically I came through as a participant, and then sort of progressed my way from there, really. I've always had an interest in sports coaching and developing people. It's not necessarily even about the coaching for me. It's how we can sort of get into the minds of the individuals that we're working with at whatever level, whether that be elite sport or recreational. People think I'm weird, but I'm more fascinated with how the mind works and getting to know about people's brains and mental health, and why people do things they do with things like addiction, or other disabilities, coaching kids with various disabilities or various needs like ADHD, autism, other impairments. And that's always been what's fascinated me, rather than actually the actual coaching or session planning itself. I'll openly admit I'm not the best session planner in the world, but what I bring to the table is managing people. I believe in motivating people. I can see whether somebody's having a bad day within about 10 seconds and try and rectify it, or I can see whether I'm going to get on with somebody, within a few seconds. And I put that social awareness down to my mum, because she's a very loving individual as well. Our house is always full of people. She's always there helping people, despite the fact that she doesn't get much help herself. You know what I mean? And I think that's testament to her, and passing it on to both me and my sister. And I love that social awareness and how we can transfer it into like the elite mindset, and hopefully, whether it be in sports coaching or management or media itself, transfer all those skills.
And then how did you get, because you were volunteering, and then you managed to get a job there in 2019, later on in 2019. You volunteered from February till about um, August or September, and then you got a full-time position there.
Well, unfortunately, it's not a full time position. It's called a sessional staff member. So
okay.
session staff member is basically if hours become available, you pick them up. As you can probably imagine yourself, there's a lot of barriers to full-time employment with people with disabilities because obviously I'm nearly 24 now. I've just finished university, as you said there. But unfortunately, when you get to an adult services sort of abandon the support they give you as much. So I don't know if you, when you was at school, did you get transport to and from school or college?
Yeah, yeah.
So that basically stops when you get to adult services or finish education. And basically, in lockdown, in line with, challenging myself around mental health and this continual quest for improvement, if you want to call it that, if you want to be cheesy, that I've been on in the past 5 years, I learned how to go on the buses in and around the Burnley area. So that took a lot of pressure off my mum, who's my full time paid carer, and she's also does fostering as well, which we can talk about in a bit. Um, yeah, like I said, it took a lot of pressure off her because she is used to driving me to the sessions that I work on. So I learned how to go on the buses, and it was good for my working environment and also socially. However, I quickly realised that the public transport system was very, very inaccessible for people like ourselves. Basically, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a bit of a boring story, and I always talk about it because I feel like it needs to be talked about. The wheelchair accessible bay on the bus isn't actually wheelchair accessible because you can't get your wheelchair into the space due to turning circle, etc. So basically, from that moment on, I sat on the other side of the bus, but they said I couldn't do that because of safety reasons. Now it sort of defeats the object if the wheelchair accessible bay itself isn't wheelchair accessible. Do you know what I mean? So basically, after numerous ongoing, arguments and debates with them, they basically said I wasn't allowed on the bus in no uncertain terms if I couldn't get into that area, and they sent a bus round to my house for context, empty bus, so I could show them what I was on about, and I got into that space once out of about 11 times on an empty bus, which just shows you this state of the system. I'm moving on because obviously I don't want to keep on a sort of negative sort of spiral or whatever. Uh, this is an ongoing thing. What we've managed to hopefully try and get the legislation changed over time. It's going to be a slow burner, but we've got it mentioned in Parliament and working with local MPs and things like that to change these issues because I feel it needs to be done because now I use taxis to work, but they continually pick me up late on a weekly basis, stopping me from applying for further jobs because, as you can imagine, other employers might not be as understanding as Burnley FC in the community if I'm turning up for late for work all the time through no fault of my own, which I'm sure you can imagine is a very frustrating experience because I've grafted my backside off over the last 5 years to get myself in a physical and mentally good state and hopefully help people through the work that I do. But it's now literally stopping me from applying for further jobs in person because obviously the companies around here, I think it's the mindset of they think like the work that we do is voluntary or because they know that we need the service, they think, oh, we'll turn up whenever we want. For context, I, I have to book the taxis an hour in advance for a 10 to 15-minute journey, and they charge double for the process. They don't even strap you into the vehicle properly, so you don't have a seatbelt. Your wheelchair is barely tied down. It's just wrong because these are the barriers that are in the way for people like ourselves. And look at you doing this podcast and me doing my own. There's so many people out there with loads and loads of potential, but no one seems to be speaking up about it or willing to change the issues that are in the way. And that's what I hope to do through the work that I do.
Sounds very interesting and very yeah, it sounds like a very, very good thing that you're doing. Back to sport now, and so you what came first? So you recently got involved with the tags. So the accessible group. I can't remember the actual title.
Ability group in sport.
That's it. Yeah, because they'll probably tell me off for saying that because I should remember that. But and then you recently got to write a piece of Burnley and at some sort of studio floor, not in the press box like with all the others, but you did a bit of journalism, didn't you?
Yeah, so as you spoke about earlier, I've just finished the journalism degree and got my own podcast as well, Wheel Talk Life, if anyone wants to listen to that, where I interview people from a variety of different backgrounds. And I've been working with Nate for over a year now, Nate Williams, who founded the Ability Group in Sport. And this is something that he's wanted to get off the ground for a while because, as my friends and family know, they're used to listening to my voice messages all the time because I don't know about yourself, pal. I can't type very fast, so I have to send voice messages. And Nate then had an idea to sort of like do a voice dictation match report, and that's where the idea stemmed from. And then it was about working out the logistics of how it would work, whether external sound would be picked up, etc. But obviously, I'm a lifelong Burnley fan as well, so I'm work for the club's charity as you mentioned. So he had an idea to see if we could do it with Burnley, and particularly under the new ownership, they're very, very innovative people. So obviously they agreed, and we went from there. And it was months of planning where we were going to do it. Whether it was going to be done from my seat, which we didn't think was a good idea because I'm a very sort of hyper person who can't concentrate very much. So if I was sat next to my mate trying to doing this report, I'd be distracted or whatever. So we found the idea of the TV studio, and that's where it came from. And this is what and the club themselves and tags, we want to show people that don't limit in your heads what somebody with additional needs can do, because they can do just exactly what you can do. It's you guys that are putting the barriers in the way, not us, in terms of society as a whole. So yeah, I really, really am passionate about this. As you can probably tell, I like to ramble on about these things because it does need to be spoken about, because we're living in a modern day world, and we shouldn't be experiencing the same sort of issues that we did 20, 30 years ago.
And following from that, it was in News UK. You managed to talk to Vincent. You managed to ask him questions, didn't you?
Yeah, that was good. Obviously, he's a legend. He's Vincent, following in the footsteps of giants in Sean Dyche. It's been a great time to be a Burnley fan at the moment. Over the last decade, really. I'm nearly 24 next month, and I think I speak for a lot of Burnley fans a similar age as me. We haven't really experienced any bad times really over the last decade, apart from obviously being relegated. But controversially, I love the Championship. I think it's way better than the Premier League. But obviously, we want to be in England's top division. But I find it very boring, to be honest with you. So I went with. Obviously, I was bothered when we was relegated, but I was looking forward to the local derbies. And obviously, Vincent will always go down in Burnley folklore after we won the league at Ewood Park, which I was there for.
It's interesting to say that because obviously with the Championship, it's always unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen. But in the Premier League, you can sort of guess, oh, Man City's going to win the league,
Yeah.
or Liverpool's going to win this game or something. Yeah, so I can sort of understand that reason, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people will probably see that as well. And yeah, but it's spoke to Vincent about Carl Foster, wasn't it?
No, Lau Foster. He basically scored our goal in a 3-1 defeat, I think it was, and I just thought of an idea to ask a question and just said it. But I don't know if you have this yourself. My biggest worry in my brain in terms of my disability is how I come across. So randomly, sometimes when I speak, I have this thing called hypertonia, which is heart and muscle tone. Do you have it?
No.
It's where your muscles stiffen up when you're talking or under pressure without you even knowing. So sometimes it can affect the way I'm speaking, and I can look like I'm frowning even though I'm perfectly fine talking or whatever. And sometimes that can really sort of inhibit how I can get across. And I know that I can do this media job with my eyes closed. I just know that because I've always been good speaking in front of the camera. But when you're under pressure and have to think about what you say, sometimes that's when it come out. But I suppose from the video, I hope I came across well in the video. And yeah.
You did. You cannot cover. And then again, you're in front of the camera again. You got featured on Match Today or Football Focus or something.
Yeah, that was last Wednesday.
Yes, and so it was them filming you about Burnley in the community and your role as a disability sports coach, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. So myself and Mia and Lewis Hickey and Lewis helps Caitlin Walker and Kimberly Snooks. We were all there on the day. Shout out to them because obviously it's a great team that we work with, and I honestly don't feel like that it's a job for me what we do, and this is why half of me actually wants to do. People think I'm mad. Half of me wants to. Most of me actually wants to continue working in the sector because it's not about coaching for me. When you get people's parents coming up to us, all of us saying thank you for what you're doing for us kids, or like commenting on the official site, it's a really really good feeling, and I hope that came across with our words and our work on Wednesday. And that's why it's just extremely frustrating that obviously through societal barriers in terms of transport and getting to places, I'm being inhibited from taking the next steps, whether it be either media or coaching, because I know I can do this job and I can do it well, you know what I mean? So uh, hopefully we continue to keep doing things like the Match of the Day feature and other things to show that things need to up the game a bit.
So we're now in the present day going into your future. So what's the plan for you in the future? Is it coaching? Is it journalism? Is it a bit of both?
I think it's a bit of everything, to be fair, mate, because I have this relentless attitude, to be fair. I don't stop. Even when I'm not working in the evenings, I'm not sat here watching Coronation Street or twiddling my thumbs on PlayStation. Do you know what I mean? I'm constantly doing something. I have to constantly do something because it keeps my mind at bay. Because I'm very up and down. 1 minute I can be up here, and then literally the next second and boom for no reason whatsoever. So, you know, I found a good method, and that's for exercise, keeping busy, reading books, going on webinars, things like that. Don't get me wrong, I still have all these issues that I had back when I was at school. As you can probably tell, we're speaking really fast and probably going off on different directions and stuff, but it's just part of my personality, and I've found ways to control it. And I feel like people with something different about them hopefully go on to do special things, and I've always felt that I can do that. I don't mean that in an arrogant way whatsoever, because I'm no different to anyone else, and anyone can do what they want to do if they put their mind to it. I'm just very stubborn and keep pursuing. So whether that be media or sports coaching, I'm open to all opportunities. But I feel like what I'm doing at the moment is far more powerful than any one particular job, if that makes sense. We're opening up people's eyes to what can be done, where you can come back from, what you can do, and what needs to be done from other people to allow us to be the best version of ourselves.
And so, that's everything. So thank you very much for coming along.
No problem, mate. Thank you for having me on.
Voice FM.